Hey, where are you right now? I've been sleeping at home, sleeping at home. There's no sign of my husband at our home where I am now. He's lying to me. Let's go back to when I was pregnant with our first child. My name is Ashley. I was finally expecting our first child in our second year of marriage. Just 1 month to go until my due date. I'm 9 months pregnant. While I'm excited about the birth, I can easily imagine the confusion of going through childbirth and child rearing for the first time. I had planned to go back to my parents' house this weekend to have them help me out for a while. I mentioned the idea of going back home to my husband during the stable period of my pregnancy, but I thought he had probably forgotten, so I brought it up again today. While I was relaxing and watching TV, my husband casually mentioned, "Heading back to your parents?" "Oh yeah, you mentioned that. If you're going, just go. I can handle things here just fine without you." I was shocked by his dismissive tone, but I didn't want to argue, so I decided not to argue back. "Well, I'll be going back this weekend. Our baby is due next month, and I plan to stay there for a month or two after giving birth. So I'll probably be back in about 3 months. Please make sure the baby's room is clean and ready." Okay. I would have done it anyway. "Oh, and I can't see you off this weekend because I have to work." "Oh, all right." I had hoped he would at least come with me to the station, but that hope faded fast. I knew he was always busy with work, even on weekends. But I wish he would think about how hard it will be for me, heavily pregnant and with lots of luggage, to manage on the train. I understand he's busy, but I do feel lonely sometimes. I don't want our soon-to-be-born baby to feel lonely either. Plus, I'm worried about whether we can raise our child together like this. When did he become so distant? With these mixed feelings, I started packing. Since I still had time before going to my parents' house, I decided to send most of my luggage through a delivery service. I had already cleaned the house from top to bottom when I started my maternity leave early. They say pregnant women have a nesting instinct. I had set up a crib and prepared a space for the baby, excited to start our new life as a family of 3. When I returned after 2.5 months, I found that my husband was being really messy despite my efforts to clean up before leaving. Maybe I cleaned too early, but still he seemed to have forgotten how to live in a tidy home. He'd leave half-empty drink bottles lying around and ignore the cardboard boxes from his online shopping. I realized that I'd never seen him cook or clean since we got married. Even though I kept trying to tidy up, things only got messier, and I started worrying about the state of the house while I was away. But with the baby coming soon, I had to focus on preparing for childbirth. The weekend came quickly, and I went to my parents' home. Meanwhile, my husband didn't even see me off to work. While I relaxed at my parents' place, I stayed in touch with him through emails every day and called him about every 3 days. But gradually, he started ignoring my calls more often. When I managed to get through to him, I noticed he'd been avoiding my calls lately. I asked, "You've been hard to reach lately, are you busy?" But his answers were vague, like sort of or not really. Then I asked him nervously, "You're not cheating on me, are you?" I've heard some men do that when their wives are pregnant. He sounded annoyed and denied it, saying, "No, why would I do that?" It's frustrating to be accused. Feeling uneasy, I quickly apologized. Having these worries while carrying our precious baby wasn't good for my mental health. I needed to trust my husband, I decided. A few weeks later, I started having labor pains. As I prepared to go to the hospital, I called my husband. I felt embarrassed to show how much pain I was in, but I really wanted him there when our baby was born. I thought surely he'd be touched by the birth of our child. I'm in labor. It usually takes about half a day for the first baby to arrive, so if you leave now, you should make it in time. I really want you here when the baby is born. You can even cut the umbilical cord. When I asked him to come, my husband sighed in annoyance. "What? You want me to come by train right now?" "Sorry, I'm tired too, I can't. I have work tomorrow." I was shocked. "Are you still talking about work at a time like this? Our baby is being born. Isn't our child more important than work?" He snapped back, "Stop it. My job can't be replaced. This is a once-in-a-lifetime moment, I know. But my work is crucial. If I don't do it, it won't get done. Can't you understand? I have to go. I'm busy," and he hung up. I tried to convince him, but he wouldn't listen. As I sobbed through the pain of labor, I wondered why he was so indifferent to our child's birth. From the moment I found out I was pregnant, my child became my priority. But as a father, he seemed so distant. So I faced childbirth alone. The pain lasted a whole day, and the next day, a beautiful baby boy was born. The baby was so tiny, adorable, and dearly loved. After leaving the hospital, my parents doted on him, teaching me all sorts of things about taking care of him. Within a month, I had gotten pretty good at giving him baths. My parents worried about me, though. "Are you sure you're okay with your husband? We can't help but worry about you when we leave." But not wanting to trouble them, I reassured them, saying, "I think I'll manage somehow. My health is improving faster than I thought. I might go back home next week," I told them. "Really, don't overdo it. Let us know if anything happens," they replied. People often say that recovering from childbirth is like recovering from a car accident, but thanks to hormones, I was in good spirits and my body was healing well. I was also getting the hang of taking care of the baby, so I decided to go back home a bit earlier than planned. While I stayed with my parents, my husband hardly reached out, and even when I sent him photos and videos of our son, he didn't seem interested. I figured maybe the feeling of being a parent really kicks in when you're actively involved in raising the baby, and perhaps he wouldn't feel like a father until he spent time with our son. That's what I hoped, at least. It kept me going. I decided to surprise my husband by having my parents drop me off at home. I didn't tell him I was coming, but he should have been home since it was his day off. I wondered how he'd react when he saw our baby for the first time. Would our baby like our home? After a few hours' drive, we got home. I held our son while my parents brought in our luggage, and I unlocked the door. But when we walked in, the house was dark and silent. "We're back a bit earlier than expected, but we're home now." "Huh, no one's here. What's that smell?" As we stepped into the living room, a terrible odor hit us. When we turned on the light, we couldn't believe what we saw. The room was a mess, like a garbage dump. Dirty dishes and half-eaten food cluttered the sink. Clothes and trash were strewing all over. And there was even moldy juice sitting out, stinking up the place. The table was covered in stains and grime. The bathroom was also filthy, with black mold in the shower and sink, and the toilet was dirty and smelly. And worst of all, the crib we had prepared for our son was filled with unused cardboard boxes and trash bags. I had asked them to keep the house clean for our baby, but this was the opposite, and I was shocked. There's no way we can live in such a dirty house, and I'm especially upset about the crib being ruined. Seriously, what's going on here? There was no way we could raise a baby in a place like this. My parents were furious and searched for my husband, checking every room, but he was nowhere to be found. Where could he be on his day off? Was he working another weekend shift? But we couldn't even confirm if he had been working those shifts before. He wasn't paid extra for weekend work, and his company followed the regular work schedule. I had been suspicious of his disappearing acts on weekends. "Let's try calling him," I suggested. Unable to bear being in the messy room any longer, I ushered my confused parents outside and dialed my husband's number. But he didn't pick up. Finally, after the third attempt, he answered. "Hey, where are you?" I asked. "I'm at home," he replied. "Why?" "Just at home," he repeated. We had searched the entire house, but there was no sign of my husband. Could he possibly be buried under all this trash? But we couldn't sense anyone there, and his voice didn't sound like he had just woken up. Then I heard a woman's voice on the phone. I couldn't make out what she was saying, but it was definitely a woman's voice. That's when it hit me. He's cheating on me. I can't believe he'd do this while neglecting our child. The house was a disaster while we were away, and he was cheating on me. I was furious. A father like him isn't needed for our son. I'm done with a husband like this. If he prefers that other woman, then he can have her. How can you live in such a filthy and foul-smelling house? Oh, I understand. Maybe a burglar broke in. I need to call the police. What? But you're at your parents' house, right? What are you saying? Suddenly, my anger boiled over at my husband's evasiveness, and I raised my voice. You're the one lying about being at home, aren't you? Stop pretending. It's completely unacceptable to let the crib turn into a mess. I'm not returning to this house. We're getting a divorce. I ended the call abruptly and quickly reported to the police about the supposed burglary, intending to confront my husband. I instructed my parents and son to head back to my parents' house and waited for my husband in front of our home. The police arrived before my husband did. I welcomed them into the house as if they were guests, and soon after, I spotted my husband approaching, accompanied by another woman. As my husband came closer, his expression seemed to say, "This is bad." I confronted him, saying, "Hey, you weren't supposed to be back until next month." "But who is she?" The woman next to him glared at me, her arms crossed. "And who are you, for that matter?" she retorted. Despite encountering his mistress, I strangely felt calm. I decided to question the woman. It turned out my husband had been meeting her without revealing he was married. I was so disgusted with him that I didn't know how to react anymore. "Hey, at least let me explain," my husband pleaded, trying to grab my shoulder, but I slapped his hand away, not wanting him to touch me. "Don't touch me. It's disgusting. The police are checking the room right now. I hope you're embarrassed having them see the mess you've made. I'm leaving now. You can explain to the police. Goodbye." Leaving them stunned, I went back to my parents' house, ignoring the numerous calls from my husband. That night, I finally decided to respond. It seemed he had explained the situation to the police, and he returned home looking troubled. It must have been embarrassing for him to see the police struggling in the messy room, but he brought it upon himself. After being rejected by the woman he had been deceiving, all that was left for him was shame and a wrecked house. "Please, I'm sorry. Come back. I've been looking forward to seeing our son," he pleaded. If he truly felt sorry, he should have come to my parents' house at least. Thinking he could apologize over the phone and everything would be fine shows what kind of person he is. I can't imagine a future with him. Even though you never showed any interest before, you suddenly care? You weren't even there when I gave birth, despite me asking you to come several times, I pointed out. "Well, I thought you knew that I would. I'll clean up the room. I can't do household chores without you. I need you," he pleaded. I could imagine my husband growing more desperate and flustered on the other end of the line as I continued to reject him. "No matter how much you beg, it's not happening. You should have stuck with that woman. If you can't handle housework, have her do it for you," I responded firmly. "But that was just a fling. It was a momentary lapse. You're the only one for me, Ashley," he insisted. "A fling? Weren't you seeing her every time you said you had to work overtime?" I countered. "Well, that's a different—" He trailed off, unable to explain himself. I pressed my husband, who was mumbling incoherently, and he confessed that he had been cheating on me with multiple women from his high school that he had reconnected with at a friend's wedding party. He's a scumbag either way. There's no point in talking, I thought to myself as I listened to him desperately apologizing, his voice close to tears. "I can't believe it. You disgust me. Were you planning to touch our son with those hands?" "Unthinkable," I said, feeling a chill run down my spine. I won't do it again. I'll come to pick you up right now. I want to see you and our son. I'll prove my sincerity. Let's go home together," he pleaded. I couldn't believe what I was hearing from his defiant voice. What was he thinking at this point? "I can't trust you. There's nothing more to talk about. I'll raise our son on my own," I declared firmly. "Ashley, please forgive," he began, but I hung up before I could hear the rest of his words. The sound of the call ending echoed emptily in my ear, and that marked the end of our short marital life. Half a year has passed since then, and I've decided to start working, relying on my parents for support. Once I've saved up enough money, I intend to leave my parents' house and start living on my own with my son. I'm in the midst of divorce negotiations with my husband, mainly for the sake of alimony. Despite his limited experience living alone, my husband is apparently unable to manage household chores, and most of his meals are from dining out, leaving his house in disarray. However, that's no longer my concern. I will do my best, showering my son with abundant love and care,